This is my first time playing Stardew Valley. Not only that, but I'm also a total beginner at playing games. Last one I played was Snow Bros for the Super Nintendo. Yeah, it's been a while. So I had to figure out everything. Let's just say things didn't go as planned. For this video, my goal is to survive all of spring. So here we go. This is everything that happened in my first time playing Stardew Valley. On day 1, I had to name my farm. I named it after my cat, Coco, and of course, I chose the black cat for my animal preference. There were so many options for customization. I have to say, the beard actually didn't look too bad on me. After deciding on my look, I had to choose a farm. Since it was my first time, I went for the standard option and began my journey. It all started with my grandfather leaving me a letter. He told me to open it when life became overwhelming. Years later, on a regular day at the office, I was too stressed out. Couldn't take it anymore, and I opened the letter. Turns out, my grandpa left me a farm. This was the opportunity to change my life. And so, I decided to quit my office job and took a bus to the valley. As I stepped off the vehicle, I was greeted by Robin, the local carpenter. Then, we went to see my farm, Coco Farm. I was overwhelmed by the state it was in. Tons of work to do. Then, Lewis, the mayor of Pelican Town, welcomed me. Everyone was so nice, except for Robin, who criticized my house. Exhausted from the trip, I went to have some rest. Now, the first real day in my farm begins. Day 1. I woke up to the sound of a rooster and found a gift on the floor. 15 parsnip seeds from Mayor Lewis. I also realized I had a TV where I could check the weather. Tomorrow was going to be a clear, sunny day. I stepped outside and started to get familiar with the controls, clearing the weeds around me. While doing this, I passed by an abandoned ruined house, and right beside it, there was an entrance to a cave. Going inside, it was a bit creepy. There was nothing there to do. After that, I grabbed my axe and started chopping fallen logs. I also used my pickaxe to break some stones, clearing some space in front of my house to plant the parsnip seeds the mayor gave me. I struggled a bit trying to hit the stones accurately. I think it's pretty clear by now. I'm not a gamer. I wanted my farm to look aesthetic, but let's just say I was still getting used to the controls. After all, I was an office worker, not a farmer. I started planting the seeds in the soil very professionally, ending up with more holes than I needed. Then I tried watering the seeds. It took me a while to actually hit the right spots. I had better luck using the arrow keys instead of the joystick. After nearly emptying my watering can, I finally managed to water all the seeds. Now it was time to visit the town. The first place I entered was a store, but no one seemed to be at the counter. There was a door at the back which I went through and met with Caroline. She told me her husband owned the store and that they had a daughter named Abigail with purple hair. I was so eager to explore that I didn't realize I had just walked into a stranger's home. I tried looking around more, but I needed to earn Abigail's trust to enter her room. Stepping out of the store, I realized it was completely dark. Before heading home, I stopped by the saloon. There were a few people inside, so I bought myself a beer. Turns out, I could also sit at the bar. I talked to Pam, an older woman who seemed like a regular there. Drinking my beer gave me extra energy. I even started glowing. Then, I met Clint, the blacksmith. He told me he could upgrade my tools. Exploring the saloon a bit more, I found some arcade machines. One of them had a skull-shaped keyhole. Surprisingly, the other machine was playable. My coordination wasn't great, probably because of the beer. I got so good at playing that it got really late. So late that I was the only one left in the saloon. And so, I left the place and went home to sleep, finishing my first day in Stardew Valley. The next morning, I realized I'd received a message. Willie, the fisherman, said he had something for me at the beach. I opened the map and checked how to get there. I almost forgot to water the plants. After all, I never claimed to be a farmer. Maybe I had to move back to the city. I took care of the plants, cut down a few small trees, cleared some undergrowth, trying to remember which tool was for what. Without stopping, I took out wood, stones, everything. And then, all my energy was gone. I started to feel sluggish, moving slower, and out of nowhere, I passed out. I woke up the next day in my bed at 6 a.m. It was raining, and I got another mail. Someone found me unconscious. Turns out I was robbed. I just moved in and already lost money. Wow, leaving that behind, I was in love with the rain. It saved me from watering the plants and it looked pretty romantic. Taking advantage of the weather, I started searching for the beach to meet Willie. On the way, I picked up a daffodil. And then I met Shane, but he was really rude. The rain wasn't as romantic as I thought. I think I'm going back to the city soon. Arriving at the beach, I talked with Willie. He gave me a fishing rod and told me about his shop where he sold some supplies. Fishing was harder than I expected. I spent some time figuring out how it worked. It was very relaxing to fish under the rain though. The minigame wasn't easy, but I managed to catch my very first fish. Unfortunately, I ran out of room in my inventory. Had to throw away some clay. Checking Willie's store, I sold him the fish and bought a training rod. I thought I would have an easier time with it, but I couldn't catch a thing. I am definitely not good at fishing. I explored the beach to see if there was anything interesting to see. I found some clams, but my inventory was full again. Had to throw away some fiber to grab them. Close by, I stumbled upon a question mark. It was a small broken bridge that could be fixed with 300 pieces of wood, a new objective. I also tried to enter a house, but I couldn't because I wasn't friends with Elliot. Nobody wants to be my friend. I took one last look at the beach before leaving. My next big problem to solve was my inventory. I had no space. Looking through the different menus, I found out that I could craft a chest for 50 pieces of wood. The thing was, I didn't have enough energy to get that many. Then, by mistake, I discovered the objectives menu. One mission was to grow a parsnip. The other was to talk to all 28 people in the valley. I had a lot to do. Walking through the town, I entered the museum where I met Gunter. He told me that he didn't have any artifacts on display and asked me to bring him any minerals or artifacts I found. Looking at the library, there seemed to be a book missing. Before leaving, I rested in front of the fire to get warm. Exploring the town further, I discovered Joja Mart. It looked like a modern supermarket. I could buy different things like seeds and stuff. I also met Morris, a Joja employee. He offered me a membership, but I didn't like it at all. It sounded like a scam, so I left. I spent the rest of the day learning the layout of the place, going up some stairs, walking alongside the river, watching a waterfall. I even found an abandoned old building with vines, and next to it, a playground. I was able to ride a duck and sit on the swings. It was a long day, so I went home to have some sleep. On day 4, I noticed the plants were bigger. I was getting better at watering them. Hey, I didn't say I was an expert. After that, I read a new message. It was an advertisement. Someone named Pierre sold backpacks that could increase my inventory. Before anything else, I was going to take care of my farm, to do what I came for. Forget about my old bosses and make new friends. Maybe if I make my place look nice, people will like me. As my inventory was full again, I sold some stuff and started cutting wood. I realized I was really good at it, as opposed to having friends. Now with the necessary amount, I was finally able to craft a chest and place it inside my home to avoid getting robbed again. Wasn't a very safe neighborhood after all. I loved that I could choose the color of the chest. I went for pink. After storing the materials and tools that I didn't need, I went into town to look for something to eat and met some new people. I talked a bit with Caroline, who I already met, and then found some sort of calendar on a wall. It was marked with the dates of birthdays, festivals, events, and even question marks. In 3 days, it was going to be Louis' birthday. I had to prepare a present for him. I didn't. After that, I met Maru. She was cool. I liked her very much. She was the only one who seemed to care about me. I continued my search for food. Looking around the store, I found the backpack I read about before, but it cost 2,000 coins. I needed to get to work. The store owner told me I could buy seeds here and also sell him my crops directly. His name caught my attention. Pierre. Unfortunately, his working hours were over, so I couldn't buy anything from him. Without giving up my search for food, I went to the saloon. Shane was not the friendliest guy in town, for sure. This place had a nice variety of food. There were even recipes to buy. I wanted to get a salad, since I love eating them, but I couldn't afford it. Nonetheless, I wouldn't surrender. I sneaked inside a mobile home while someone was sleeping to see if I could steal some food from the kitchen. The fridge was full of empty beer bottles. Not much else. I went to check another building, but it was closed. My attempt as a thief failed. I'm not even good at stealing things or having friends. It's been 4 days and I haven't eaten a single thing. Sad and hungry, I went back to sleep. Fortunately, I leveled up. My X proficiency went up, and I could get seeds from the trees I cut down. Plus, I unlocked some new recipes. Lastly, I got almost 200 coins for the things I sold that day. It wasn't much, but it is a start. On day 5, my plants were ready. I picked them up one by one. The bad news was, I forgot to water one of them, but it didn't matter. I got my first crops. That day, I also had a letter from Mart saying that they removed a landslide caused by a drilling operation near the mountain lake. No idea where that is. I proceed to remove some more stones and trees. It was pretty addicting. I really loved doing it. I kept on removing weeds and everything else, putting my farm in perfect shape until my inventory was full again. After taking care of that, I headed to town to sell my stuff to Pierre. But then, Mayor Lewis showed me the town's community center, the building I saw before. It was important to fix it up because he didn't want to sell the land to Mart. I swore to never become a member of Joja. Going inside, the place was a mess. I even saw some weird thing in there. It looked like a ghost, in the shape of an apple. Lewis didn't believe me. He even left me. Maybe I scared him. I will never have friends. I wanted to explore this place further. Going inside one of the rooms, I found a writing in a mysterious language. Strange. Getting out of the community center, I had a quick chat with Maru, grabbed a couple of daffodils, and sold everything at the store. Getting more than 800 coins, I bought a few of each seed. I couldn't decide which just one. Going back to Coco Farm, I began to prepare the soil, trying to do something a little more aesthetic than my first try. But I ended up making something more like a Tetris farm. Not only that, but I also went too far and ran out of energy, so I went to sleep. This time, I leveled up farming, gaining proficiency with the watering can and the hoe. Plus, I could craft a scarecrow and basic fertilizer. On day 6, I woke up with a message from a wizard. He knew I was at the community center. He invited me to his chambers, located at the west of the forest lake, in the stone tower. After planting my new seeds and getting everything ready at the farm, I left in search of this wizard. I headed south, clearing the path from all the stones and pieces of wood that blocked my way. Suddenly, one of the rocks dropped a geode. The local blacksmith could help me with this. Another thing I had to keep in mind for later. After walking for a while, I finally arrived at the tower. The magician's name was Rasmodius. He showed me the same ghost I saw before, that we call Junimos. There were mysterious spirits who refused to speak with the wizard. Rasmodius said there was no reason to fear them. I told him about the scroll I found back at the community center with a strange language. After teleporting there and reading it himself, he told me he managed to decipher it. The Junimos were asking for gifts to help the forest. After this, the wizard gave me something to drink from his cauldron. It seemed to give me energy, but that was not water. I got pretty high. This gave me the power of forest magic. Now I was able to read the Junimos scrolls. Making my way back to town, I found another geode in my farm. Arriving at the community center, I checked out the scroll once more. There seemed to be multiple bundles to complete, from things like spring and summer plants, exotic things, to forage bowls. Now, I had a lot of stuff to work towards. It was overwhelming, but really exciting. Going north, I met with Demetrius. He was the father of Maru, my future friend. Demetrius was studying the plants and animals. I entered the nearby building, where I found Robin. She saw a lot of furniture, but I could also improve my house for 10,000 gold coins and over 400 pieces of wool. Even buy farm buildings, like coops, barns, wells, and tons more. I only had 5 coins. 5. Leaving the store, I met Abigail, and after that, I picked up a leek from the ground, one of the items I needed from the spring bundle. Another person I met that day was Linus, a hermit who lived alone in a tent. I tried to give him a maple seed. He didn't like it very much. Heading west, I grabbed a wild horseradish, another plant I needed from the bundle. And not only that, I also discovered another way to get to my farm. It was a great shortcut. I still had too much energy to go to sleep, so for the rest of the night, I kept working on the farm, cutting trees, rocks, and looking for more geodes. On day 7, I was an expert at watering plants. Well, almost. I realized I had some maple tree seeds, so I planted them. With that done, I grabbed my geodes and headed to town. On the way, I came across a woodpecker, and next to it a bus, with a sign indicating it was going to the Calico Desert. Unfortunately, it was out of service. nervous. There was also a minecart, which didn't work either. Looking for the blacksmith, I got into a random house by mistake. I checked if I could grab some food, but there was nothing at all. Right after, I met with Sam. I think I overwhelmed him. Finally, I found the blacksmith, but it was closed. Wasn't my lucky day. After that, I met a little old lady named Evelyn. I love her. She was super nice, as opposed to Alex. Very rude. Then I ran into my friend Maru. She asked me if I had a good time working at the farm. I was so excited and said yes. Then I sat next to my new friends. Well, at least I could pretend they were. I kept meeting more people. Looking at my objectives, I earned 100 coins for completing one of them. Besides meeting everyone, a couple goals I had pending were to craft a scarecrow and build a coop. After meeting Sebastian, then I discovered a cave. Inside, there was a man named Marlon. The place was an old mine shaft, abandoned. He said there was good ore down there, but that's not the only thing I will find. He gave me a rusty sword. Marlon ran the Adventurers Guild right outside. If I proved myself, I could become a member. I had a new objective, reach level 5 in the mine. The elevator and the mine shaft were working, so I climbed down using an old ladder. On the second level, I discovered quartz, topaz, and copper ore. I was running out of energy, and midnight was approaching fast. I hurried home, finding a much faster route from the north. After collapsing into bed, I leveled up my mining skill, gaining pickaxe proficiency and unlocking a new crafting recipe. Rain was pouring down when I stepped outside. Clint was there, saying he heard I had found some ore. He handed me a furnace blueprint, explaining I would need it to make metal bars, specifically copper ones. With the sound of rain around me, I decided to clear more of my farm. While working, I found several geodes. Today, I decided to dedicate myself to mining stones. By noon, I had already run out of energy, so I grabbed the geodes and artifacts I headed into town. At the blacksmith, I handed Clint a geode, and he cracked it open, revealing 5 copper ore, limestone, and petrified slime. Eventually, I ran out of money to break open anymore. After that, I went to the museum. Gunter wanted to see what I found. He told me these artifacts were ancient. To study them more in detail, he asked if I could donate them. He said we could discover something incredible together, maybe even earn some rewards. I donated the petrified slime and earned over 200 coins. Then I continued to hand out the rest of the items, learning that the limestone was over 100,000 years old. With some daylight left, I opened my map and decided to explore the northern parts I hadn't yet visited. Along the way, I picked up a leak and found the Adventurers Guild building, though only members could enter. Then I saw a large broken bridge. Right after, there was a railroad sign, but not much else. The next day, I received a message from Robin. She told me to consider buying a well for 1,000 coins. Too expensive. I already had a lake nearby. Didn't seem worth it. I watered my crops and headed back to the mines. Strangely, my ladder from before was gone, so I started mining rocks again. Going down, the first monster appeared. Swing after swing, I attacked it in an epic fight. I thought I wouldn't survive, but I finally defeated it, uncovering a ladder to level 3. There was not only one slime, but 3 of them. One by one, I defeated them too. I even found an amethyst. I had a lot of fun fighting and exploring. On level 4, I found copper ore, quartz, and even a torch. It was getting dark, but then a strange flying bug appeared. I fought it with my sword. Breaking open a wooden chest, I found cave carrots. Eating them gave me energy and health back. Finally, after mining even more rocks, I reached level 5. Things were different here. There were lantern lights on the walls, and best of all, an elevator. After killing the slimes, once again my inventory was full. I really needed to get a backpack or something soon. I fought a strange slime. It put up quite a fight and took half of my life, but I managed to kill it. It dropped green algae. I was running out of energy and it was getting late, so I decided to head back. On day 10, I got another message. Marlon said if I managed to kill 10 slimes, I would be allowed to become a member. I also realized that my parsnip was fully grown. Now I could harvest them. I planned to give them away to make some friends. I headed into town to see if I could find anyone. Shane was the first person I saw, but he wasn't worth my time. Near the truck, I found some little cows. They were so cute. I went back to the farm and worked for a while, clearing out more land. I also crafted a scarecrow and set it up, earning 100 gold. Then I built a furnace and used 5 copper ore and a piece of coal to smell my first copper bar. Later, I went back into the village to look for friends, but there was no one outside. I wandered alone in the rain. The efforts one makes to find friends. I went to the saloon. There were quite a few people there, so I sat down and started talking. Clint mentioned it was a good day to visit the mines. Maybe this weather was good to find rare ores. Emily talked about rumors of magical artifacts. She seemed a bit old. so I decided to walk away. Going outside with my gifts in hand, I hoped to find Maru, but I didn't see her anywhere. It was getting late, so I decided to give Leah the gift instead. She loved it. Then I gave another gift to Clint, but his reaction was more neutral. I stayed so long at the bar that I didn't manage to make it home in time. I passed out. The next day, I woke up with a notification. The bookseller was in town today. Going out, I saw petals all over the place. They were so beautiful. Checking my mailbox, there was a message from Jojo. Then a message from Robin. She lost her axe. If I found it, I would get over 200 pieces of gold. The last place she used it was south of Marnie's ranch. Close by, I found a dandelion, the last thing I needed from the bundle. Back at the village, I stumbled upon Maru and gave her a gift. She didn't seem to like it. Going inside the community center, I completed the spring foraging bundle. I won 30 seeds as a reward, also unlocking the pantry and the fish tank, more bundles to complete. With all these seeds, I headed back to my farm. On the way, I saw two kids trying to enter the sewer, but the entrance was locked. They said Gunter had the key, the man who ran the museum. The sewer was pretty scary, something strange was in there. I went to visit Marnie. Her home was lovely. She sold animal supplies. I'm really looking forward to adopting more animals. Soon after, I ran into some kind of door. It said, only a master of the 5 ways may enter. No idea what that was, but right next to it, I found Robin's missing axe. I gave it to her. I won my first heart. With that done, I went back to my farm to plant my seeds. Didn't manage to water anything because it was too late. I went to sleep. This was the best day of my life. Marnie showed up at my house with a cat. I named him Coco. There was a message in the mailbox for the egg festival. It was tomorrow between 9 and 2 p.m. Watering the plants, I noticed the farm was getting bigger. It was harder to water everything. Once finished, I went to look for Coco. He was sleeping next to my bed, my favorite part of the day. I used all my money to buy as many seeds as possible. Forgetting about the aesthetics of the farm, I watered the new seeds, running out of energy at 5 p.m. Before passing out, I went to say hello to Coco, accidentally watering him, and went to sleep. On day 13, my plants were ready, or so I thought. I messed it up. Trying to harvest them, I broke them instead. Twice! I still had to figure out the controls. Please be nice in the comments. The egg festival was starting in the town square. It was super cute. There were flamingos, plush bunnies, seasonal plants, all sort of stuff to buy. Tables with food too. I took the opportunity to talk with everyone. Later, the egg hunt began. Whoever catches the most wins. I managed to find 7. Unfortunately, I lost to Abigail. I went back home, sad, until I realized Coco was sleeping with me. In my bed, I was happy again. On day 14, a crow was eating my plants, even though I had a scarecrow. One of the flowers had already grown. It was a blue jazz. I also grabbed a potato. Little by little, I was getting better at watering my crops. My mission for today was to find a gift for Coco. He was so cute. I realized I didn't have any hearts with him yet. I thought about giving him a fish, so I went to the water. The first try was a total fail. The second one was just green algae. The third one, I managed to fight for a while, but I ended up losing. I was about to give up, but then I made it. I got a fish. I tried giving it to Coco, but it wasn't possible. I saved it in my chest for later. I realized I had some seeds unused, so I planted them too. The next morning, I woke up with a message. The spreading weeds had caused damage to my farm. I had to take them out with my pick. Then I had a letter from Evelyn. She was telling me that when summer comes, all the spring plants will die. I grabbed some geodes and headed into town, where I saw Leah. She asked me why I became a farmer. I told her it felt more real than living in the city. Same reason why she did too. After selling the plants, I went to the blacksmith. Turns out, I needed 5 copper bars and 2,000 coins to upgrade any tool. Wasn't sure what to do with the slime. I tried giving it to Abigail, but she didn't take it well. I tried to buy even more seeds, but I ran out of space in my inventory. Since I was out of energy, I went for a walk to explore, grabbed a forageable on the beach, and also found out I could go through the town's trash. Made quite a mess. On day 16, I kept reorganizing my house, trying to make it symmetrical, but it was impossible. It bothered me a lot. I couldn't put things where I wanted. Took a long while to figure out where to put everything. I decided to take the TV out, since I didn't like the way it looked. Having done that, I gave Coco some water and petted him, although I still didn't have a heart. Next, I realized that I could move the scarecrow by hitting it, so I moved it closer to my plants. Fierce sent me a letter saying that he sold fertilizers. Interesting. It was already 9 p.m. when I finished with the farm, so I went into town to see if anything was open. There was a mission on the board. Maru needed a potato. The next day, I grabbed one and went running to her house, but her place wasn't open. I had to wait, soaking wet, until I finally got inside. However, I wasn't able to enter her room. I knocked on the door with my axe, my pickaxe, everything, but she didn't answer. I waited under the rain, in the house, in the hallway, even in the kitchen. She still didn't want to see me. I had no friends after all. But then, she came out. Maru loved the gift. I even got my first heart with her. With that done, I went to the mines and took the elevator to level 5, destroying every monster I found. I kept going down and slaying all my enemies, until reaching level 10, where I found a big chest with leather boots. They gave me more defense and immunity. I also realized I managed to kill 10 slimes, which will allow me to enter the guild tomorrow, but for the moment, I managed to get home, before passing out on the floor. On day 18, I put various things on sale, chopped more wood, and continued clearing my farm until running out of energy. Following this, I went to see the man with the eye patch, Marlon. He sold a variety of weapons and equipment, blades, work boots, and more. I bought the femur, which did more damage than my sword. I also met with Gil. He wasn't very nice. I saw on the town's board that it was Pam's birthday. There was also a job request from Harvey. He needed a herring. Right after, I went to the saloon to give Pam a birthday gift. Turns out, she also wasn't nice. Before finishing the day, I grabbed all the forageables I came across. That night, I leveled up foraging. The next morning was full of beautiful petals again. Before doing anything, I gave Coco some water and some cuddles. I got half a heart. Lots of plants were up to grab. My inventory was full. With the plants watered, I read a message from Jody. She was looking for a cauliflower. With all my crops ready, I headed to the shop. But then, someone arrived, a man named Morris. He was handing out JojaMart coupons, 50% off. Everyone started grabbing them and leaving the store. Poor Pierre. The good news, I had enough money to buy a backpack. This was so much better. At one point, I saw the old hermit Linus going through the trash. Someone thought there were raccoons and asked me to scare them away. Linus apologized to me, said he was looking out for food. I said there was nothing to be ashamed of. He was glad. When I left, Linus searched through the trash again and got caught. But this time, George offered him some food. By now, I had won hearts with 4 different people. I was making progress. That night, I reached level 2 farming, unlocking tons of stuff, including a sprinkler. To build it, I needed 1 bar of copper and 1 of iron. I then crafted a couple of snacks, a chest, and a sign, with the name Coco's Farm. Finally, I had all the items for the spring crops bundle. Completing it gave me some rewards, including a fertilizer. Not only that, I also unlocked the boiler room. The blacksmith bundle needed copper, iron, and gold bars. Later that day, while working on my farm, I came across something, a letter from my grandpa, telling me to wait for his return in the 3rd year. On day 21, the bookseller arrived. While waiting for the town shop to open, I found a maple seed in the trash. After spending all my money on seeds, I found the bookseller, but everything was so expensive. It had some really interesting books, like learning to walk faster or even gaining experience in different skills. I went back to the farm to plant all the seeds. I had so much work to do that I ate a couple of snacks to keep going. I even set up some torches to light up the night. Going to sleep, I reached level 3 in foraging. The next morning, I had a message from Robin. She was sorry for making jokes about my farm and told me that she could expand my home if I gave her materials and money. The first expansion included a kitchen. After cutting trees for a while, I managed to reach 300 pieces of wood. With this, I was able to repair the bridge at the beach. This let me access a new area. It was really nice. Super relaxing. There were several corals to pick up, and even a wooden pier to walk on. I sat on the fisherman's bench, listening to the sound of the waves and wondering, did I manage to get better, or was I still the same as when I arrived? On day 23, I finally got my first full heart with Coco, and also a message. Tomorrow was gonna be the flower dance. I needed to find a partner to participate. I took care of the farm, but today's mission was looking for my dance partner. Maru was my first friend, but Jody was also a good option. I gave her a bean, and she loved it. She said it made her day special. For some reason, we were all the girls together in the same place, in front of the fireplace. It was the perfect moment to make friends. I talked to them, wondering if something was going to happen. I sat down on a chair and they started exercising. They were giving it all. It was an aerobics class. I just sat there watching. I wanted to join, but they didn't let me, so I had to leave. I went to the saloon. I was afraid to be alone for the dance. I played a bit at the arcade to see if I got any better. Not so much. Leaving the place, I talked to Alex. He told me I was pale and had to sunbathe, and he even invited me to the beach. In bikini. Wow. I kept exploring around, stole a bunch of spring onions, and then returned to the farm. I then discovered I could craft a cooking kit. I grabbed the materials and built it, plus a campfire too. What I didn't realize was the cooking kit already included the campfire. Anyway, the only recipe I could make was fried egg, and I didn't have any chickens, so I needed to learn new recipes. Finally, the day of the flower dance was here. After ordering everything, I headed there. It was time to find a partner. First, I asked Leah, but she turned me down. Next was Elliot, who also turned me down. No problem, my good friend Maru will never fail me. She also rejected me. Penny? No, no one. Not a single person wanted to dance with me. They started without me. Why? I came back home at night without a partner, without friends. I sat staring at the wall, listening to the fireplace. Coco was the only one that made everything worthwhile. Thank you, Coco. You are the only friend I have. Now it was me and my cat against the world. I was done trying to make friends. My mission from here on out was to become a legendary farmer. Look at this parsnip. This is for you, Leah, for turning me down. To get my anger out, I went to the caves. There, I found a horrible new bug. I kept going down, level after level, fighting, imagining the face of all the people who reject me. I kept killing bug after bug, reaching level 15. But I wasn't done. I went to the next one, and that was a mistake. A strange green fog appeared, and two horrible flies came at me. I quickly escaped to the floor downstairs, realizing it was quite late. I decided to go back home. At least I got some training done. That night, I leveled up my combat skill. The next day, I checked the items I grabbed at the caves and wore my new shirt. After taking care of the farm and doing some fishing, I went through Emily's garbage, and she saw me, but I didn't care. I was mad at everybody. Even Leah told me it was simple to make friends with the trees. Wow. And so I had reached the end of spring. I wonder if nobody like me, why help them? Maybe I should join Georgia Mart. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. Bye!